boy, did we luck out, y'all. I had to go to my hearing, and during that time, they basically completely litigated the prosecution's presentation. It turns out that the prosecution spent some time over the weekend working on her PowerPoint for her opening statement, y'all. It's an opening statement. You are not allowed to argue an opening. You are only allowed to state. So in her opening statement, sorry guys, look at Young Thug in his tie. I swear he just like reminds me so much of a middle-aged father right now. I just... So the prosecution was supposed to have shared these slides. It turns out she worked on them over the weekend. She made a bunch of changes that were very objectionable. They sent the jury out. Defense started objecting. And this is exactly what I've been talking about. Like, there are at least 8 defense attorneys over here. So there was objection after objection after objection after objection. And the prosecutor ended up having to redo her PowerPoint over the lunch break, and then they came back, and she still hasn't finished her opening statement, y'all. It is 2:45 p.m. there. They started at 9 a.m. The juror was late, so the juror didn't make it. It was late, and so they had to wait for that. And then the prosecutor started showing these objectionable PowerPoints. She actually showed stuff that had actually been excluded by the judge already. So crazy morning already. Crazy afternoon. I love it. I love it. The drama is on high in the Young Thug courtroom. He's just looking so chunky. The jury is now finally coming back in, and now the prosecutor has to like restart where she was with her modified slides. Oh, she's a mess. The judge was lit. He's been yelling. He's very irritated for good reason. Oh my God, we're waiting on one juror. I feel like if this trial has a theme, it's going to be waiting on one juror. I love it. I love it. The prosecution really, so far in her opening statement, has already said that Mr. Williams is not involved and that people call people to call people to talk to him. So in a way, she's kind of contradicted the very evidence she's trying to prove. I just feel like she's so disorganized. Like, where is your outline? Nobody cares.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we go ahead and continue with the state's opening statement, I need to kind of just advise you of just something that was said to you earlier, okay? So with your patience, all right? I believe the state's counsel earlier referred to some representation of the parties, and I just want to remind you 2 things. Remember that opening statements are not evidence, and that what the attorneys say is not evidence. And with that, just let me continue, okay?
See if we can turn her up.
For just a few moments more. So where we left off, the crimes that the defendants are accused of committing in this case. You're going to have the indictment with you. It's going to go back. A listing of them includes the following: conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, murder, armed robbery, aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, possession of a firearm by a first offender probationer, and death by receiving.
I cannot stand it when people read off of a PowerPoint to me.
This list is not
I can read. I do not need you to read the PowerPoint.
The indictment.
The PowerPoint's supposed to enhance what you're discussing. She's reading off it. If I was a juror, I'd be lit right now. I did not go away from my job for months at a time for you to read off of a PowerPoint to me. That's, I would be lit.
Going to show that the defendants, when we say conspiracy, it's nothing elaborate. It's a legal term, which simply means the evidence is going to show that the defendants had an agreement. There will not be a written contract presented to you. There will not be a letter signed in blood by any of the defendants. But what you will see evidence of is the defendants' actions, their presence, their companionship, their conduct, before, during, and after a long list of crimes. And what you will see,
This is why your mom warned you about who you're hanging out with. Because sometimes you can be hanging out with the wrong people.
is that the defendants weren't always convicted of these crimes. Sometimes the state no-crossed or dismissed charges. Sometimes the police never brought formal charges. But what the evidence will show is that the defendants did commit those crimes. And when we're talking about a conspiracy, an agreement, just an agreement, unspoken agreement, we're gonna participate in YSL through a pattern of racketeering activity. That's another large word that is used in the legal community, but regular folks, myself included, just don't generally tend to use it. Racketeering activity is nothing more than certain crimes, the crimes that are listed out in the indictment. You will see that, and the court will instruct you, I expect, that those crimes
She does have a fabulous
constitute
jacket on the side here if
racketeering
you want to
activity.
send me one.
And as I stated before you all broke for lunch, a conspiracy requires just one overt act. So you will see evidence of several overt acts. Several acts that were done by these defendants and by unnamed and unindicted people as well, to further the interests, to further the goal of the conspiracy that the defendants participated in. You will see overt acts meant to establish YSL's dominance and control. You will see overt acts meant to gain illegally access to money and wealth and property that did not belong to YSL. You will see overt acts, steps taken on the part of various individuals to act to protect the group as a whole. Steps that have nothing to do with a recording label. Steps that have nothing to do with an A&R executive. You will see steps that were taken solely for the purpose of illegally gaining goods for and on the behalf of YSL and its members. You will see steps taken by each of the defendants to protect the members of YSL, to establish the dominance and control of YSL.
It's so funny because all the words that she's using, you could think of like corporations.
Nothing
doing, right? They're trying to establish the
in what
dominance
I
and control of
expect
the
the court
market.
will tell you.
You know, they work together and use
Nothing
them to
in the evidence
make
will
the money.
suggest that
Yeah, I'm
any
sure
of
these are
the
illegal
defendants
means.
had to be convicted.
But it's interesting
of all
because I
of the
don't think they
overt
have to
acts
prove the
in
other
order
acts
for
beyond
you
a
to
reasonable
see
doubt.
that they actually had an
So
agreement.
this is kind of a cop-out. She only has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that some crimes may have been committed, and that creates this conspiracy for RICO. Now, if you're in Texas, I've said this before, we are very fortunate that we don't have RICO charges in Texas because we require our prosecutors to make the burden of beyond a reasonable doubt. We're going to put people in jail. So it is disturbing to me that there are acts that happened decades ago that they're using to show as evidence that this stuff is going on now. And it's disturbing to me that she said some of these crimes they've gotten away on. Well, once you get away, there's double jeopardy. You don't get to go again. And so it's almost as if RICO is to avoid your double jeopardy, and I don't like that.
And 6 of them are here.
I don't like that at all.
To decide as a state proven this case. Rodelius Ryan. Rodelius Ryan is one of those people whose youth and life was swallowed up in the crater created by YSL in the Cleveland Avenue community.
Back to the crater analogy.
The evidence is going to show that in 2019, Rodelius Ryan was 15 years old. And that in February of 2019, Rodelius Ryan used female acquaintances to lure Jamari Holmes to a particular address here in Fulton County. The female acquaintance lured Jamari Holmes to that address, telling Jamari that he would get sex and weed once they got there.
Seems like a legitimate way
Instead, when
to
they
lure
got
a
to
young
the
man into a
address,
home.
the female gets out of the car, and the defendant, Rodelius Ryan, and his accomplice, Damone Blaylock, also a YSL member and associate, they then came out to the car with guns. The evidence will show that Rodelius Ryan and Damone Blaylock then fired those guns into the car where Jamari Holmes, not even 20 years old, was seated and hit him in the back of the head with the bullet that took his life. Jamari Holmes is another one of those young lives the evidence will show that was swallowed up by the crater
Show that.
YSL created.
She needs to go show that in the courtroom on that case. You know, go show beyond a reasonable doubt that he did this. And I really don't like that it's brought into an opening unless the kid has been prosecuted.
19-year-old Jamari Holmes. The evidence will show that Rodelius Ryan doesn't say, I bet I make the news. Rodelius Ryan posts on his Instagram account, I bet YSL makes the news. The evidence will show that in posting about YSL as it related to his flagrant, overt act of extreme violence, Rodelius Ryan was agreeing to and attempting to participate in YSL through this illegal activity. He was promoting the game.
That is a stupid
He was showing their
Instagram to show
dominance.
that. It's so dumb.
He was showing their power, and he was showing their control. Rodney Uten was also in the car with Jamari Holmes. That's another young life. He wasn't taken, he survived. But he was forever changed by the acts of YSL conducting and committing violence on behalf of the entire organization. And in case it hasn't been lost on you, Rodelius Ryan's Instagram handle that he used, Slime Business Ride. Because as the evidence will show, slime is spoken and used to signify doing someone dirt. And Rodelius Ryan is proudly proclaiming his association with YSL as he talks about and as he promotes the game itself. Rodelius Ryan's accomplice, another YSL member who's not here today, but who is a co-conspirator. What did he post after they killed Jamari Holmes? The evidence will show that Damone Blaylock didn't say friendship over females. He didn't say Blaylock over buddies. He said slime over sluts. Slime over sluts while posting a YSL gang hand sign with the caption,
She
slime over
almost implies
sluts.
that it would be different.
A
if
green
you said
heart
friends
emoji
over
and a
females.
green
That's
snake emoji.
Just, it's not different.
Which I expect the evidence will show are the common identifiers associated with YSL. They're the identifiers that they use to announce and project themselves to the rest of the world. And then, on February the 25th, 2019, Rodelius Ryan made another posting where he's flashing cash money on his Instagram page with the caption, "Fuck YFN." YFN being a rival criminal street gang. The evidence will show that none of this was a part of what anybody has to do to be a part of a record label. The evidence will show that these acts were done
I don't know.
in
I kind of
furtherance
think like
of
to be part of a record label, you
and
do
to
have to
promote
do
the
a lot of
goals
stuff on
of it.
Instagram. You gotta do a lot of
the
promoting and
enterprise,
stuff.
the
And,
criminal street gang that
I
is
feel like
young
the content
slime.
of the music would yield a saying like slime over sluts. Like I do think that
And what did the paper say? 15-year-old, they called Jamari Holmes a known gang member. But the evidence is going to show that that's not who he was to the people who cared about him most. Jamari Holmes was Jamari Holmes. He was a baby, a child, found shot to death inside a stolen car, police said. Jamari Holmes was just the latest victim of YSL's quest to maintain and retain dominance and control of the Cleveland Avenue community. Again, Rodelius Ryan didn't post, "I bet I make the news." He said, "I bet YSL
this
makes the
screen
news."
is so inflammatory. 15-year-old baby in all caps.
Marquavius
First of all, that young man who was going to meet at that house for sex and weed was not a baby, okay? Because I've had babies and they don't know what sex or weed are, okay? Okay. So, no. And it is sad and tragic that he died, but I feel like I would have objected to that.
He's also on trial for you to determine whether the state has met its burden of proving he committed the acts that are listed in this indictment. Marquavius Huey showed his agreement to participate in the activities of YSL through a pattern of racketeering activity. He showed his willingness to commit acts on behalf of the gang through his actions. The stolen handgun he had, that was the property of Jeremy Smith. Because as you will see throughout this trial, stolen handguns will become a reoccurring theme. There's no need for a legitimate
Stolen handguns
organization
could have been her theme. But no.
not comprised of people committing crimes on behalf of the organization to have all these stolen handguns. Everybody has a right to have a gun, so if you're legitimate, just go get one. But the evidence will show that in this case, YSL members, stolen handguns every time you turn around. And not just stolen handguns. The evidence will show that most recently in May of 2022, where some of these defendants were found at the home of Jeffrey Williams, their leader, it wasn't just stolen handguns that YSL dealt with. It was machine guns. You'll hear evidence that at the home of Jeffrey Williams, in addition to the pharmacy full of drugs, that there is a gun with a switch that allows, with one trigger pull, 10 times more bullets to come out at a time than if you just had a regular gun. There will be no evidence to show any need for that in legitimate, ordinary record deal making business. The evidence will show that the existence of those dangerous weapons like the machine gun, the stolen firearms, those things are all evidence of these defendants' conspiracy. Those things are all evidence of the existence of the enterprise known as YSL, whose goal it is to maintain and retain dominance, control, and ill-gotten gains. Marquavius Huey, on April the 26th of 2019, further showed by his actions, showed his agreement to participate in YSL through a pattern of racketeering activity, illegal activity. When he took the property, jewelry, money, and a debit card of Dewan Maynard by use of a firearm. Dewan Maynard, another life affected by this crater created by YSL in the middle of the Cleveland Avenue community. Marquavius Huey showed his agreement to participate in this enterprise when he struck Maynard in the face with that gun that he used to take Mr. Maynard's belongings. Marquavius Huey hijacked on 2020 a Buick LaCrosse from yet another victim of YSL's violence, Gary Holloman, by force in violation of the law. Mr. Holloman has since passed away, not from that incident. So he won't be here to tell you what he was feeling and how he was able to tell the police who it was that committed this armed robbery. What you will hear evidence of is the extraction from Marquavius Huey's phone, where he's planning the armed robbery, where he set up with Mr. Holloman a ruse so that he could have the opportunity, along with another uncharged, unfound individual, so he could have the opportunity to put a gun in Mr. Holloman's face and rob him. What Marquavius Huey did was kind of slimy, the evidence will show. He told Mr. Holloman, hey, your nephew in the Fulton County Jail, Tinquarius Mender, he needs some money on his books. So he wants me to meet with you to get money to put on his books. So Mr. Holloman, because he loves his nephew, and any friend of his nephew coming to him that way is legit, right? The evidence will show that Mr. Holloman arrives intending to meet the person so that he could give to them the money for his nephew, and to his shock and horror, he's met with the butt of a gun, two people, one with a long gun, one with a handgun, demanding his money. And that day, as the evidence will show, Mr. Holloman wasn't the only person affected by the violence perpetuated every day by YSL. Delmisha Coppage, she just happened to be on scene. She just happened to be right there conversing with and talking to Mr. Holloman when the defendant and his accomplice came up, held him at gunpoint, and demanded their belongings. You'll hear how they directed Delmisha Coppage to just sit on the ground.
Well, if you want,
sit on the ground.
Just go earn
give
it.
me your stuff.
Holding people at gunpoint to take their crap is just
You'll
not-
hear how they robbed Delmisha Coppage at gunpoint.
and it's awful.
The evidence is going to show Mr. Huey's tight relationship with their leader, Jeffrey Williams. The evidence will show that Mr. Huey, on various occasions, checked in with, reached out to Mr. Williams to see, hey, I got this stolen item. You want first dibs on it?
got a new cell phone.
Marquavius Huey's
Joy,
actions that
I shouldn't laugh. It's
betrayed his agreement to participate in the conspiracy didn't stop with Gary Holloman
And if they
and
can't show
Doja
those
Cat.
texts, y'all,
The
they can
evidence
show
will
the
show
texts
that in November.
where like other
2020,
YSL gang members are like,
he made
yes, give me
terroristic
some
threats
good.
towards Justice
Yes,
Stewart.
let me see what you stole. Yes, I might want some of that. That will help prove that conspiracy
He said,
and the gang.
"You will die if you put the police on me." Showing their association, showing their agreement, showing their intention to participate in this
I don't
organization,
see
this
telling someone
enterprise,
that they'll die if they hit the law.
of
And that's a
racketeering
terroristic
activity.
threat. I think that's a very
The evidence will show
everyday
that
threat on the streets.
while fellow associate Tinquarius Mender was an inmate at Fulton County Jail, Mr. Mender, Mr. Huey, and Mr. Williams conducted a recorded video call wherein Mender relays he needed something and Williams pointed to Mr. Huey to take care of it. And then flashed Mender the YSL sign. You see, it's not a crime to flash a YSL sign. The evidence is gonna show it's not a crime to participate in a video call. The evidence is gonna show that it is not a crime to endeavor to provide something for a friend who's locked up in jail. All of that is okay. These acts aren't listed on the indictment because they're crimes. They're listed because they are actions. Actions that the legal leads for is overt acts that reflect each of these defendants' tacit or unspoken agreement to participate in this enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity, to be a part of this group, to gain ill-gotten goods through crimes listed in this indictment. I don't even have to use the word racketeering, I don't even have to use the word conspiracy. They endeavored to do some illegal stuff to get a bunch of stuff that didn't belong to them. And somebody, more than one, but all we need is one, the evidence will show that at least one person took a step towards furthering that goal. So when you get the indictment, after however long it takes us to get there, and you're looking at 191 acts and thinking, state, really?
I sustain the objection.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Yo, that's the third objection that's been sustained. In her opening statement. I can't. This woman's doing a bang up job.
That's all right.
The evidence is gonna show that these steps that they took are akin to you just going out and get some toilet paper to further a conspiracy to go TP a house. Doesn't have to be a crime, it's just an act, an action. The evidence is going to show that the defendant Jeffrey Williams' words and actions also betray his participation in the conspiracy. I expect that you will hear from a YSL associate and member at trial that the defendant Jeffrey Williams rented a car, notwithstanding that Jeffrey Williams had his own cars, but he rented a car which happened to be a silver Infiniti sedan that other YSL members, among them Devontae Kendrick and Shannon Stillwell, used when they openly and notoriously gunned down Donovan Thomas on January the 10th of 2015. The evidence will show that after that horrific act, I expect yet another YSL associate will come in here and tell you that Jeffrey Williams paid them money, gave them money to go to Miami and lay low. in the wake of the Diamond Thomas murder.
That's not good evidence.
Later that month, on
That's
January
gonna
the
be bad.
26th of 2015, Damikian Garlington, who is it before you? For your
Oh no, no
consideration
conspiracy
today,
here. I just paid for my homies to lay low. Ooh, yeah. Youch.
He posted a video of the defendant, Jeffrey Williams, looking into the camera and saying these words. So, a nigga lied to their mama, lied to their kids, lied to their brothers and sisters, and then get right into the courtroom and tell the God's honest truth. Don't get it. Y'all need to get fucking killed, bro. That's from me and YSL. The defendant's words tell you that there is an enterprise. The defendant's words establish his willingness and agreement to participate in this enterprise through illegal activities. He didn't say that's for me. He said that's for me and YSL. And as the evidence will show, that's akin to him saying that's for me and my pack. Kendrick's and Williams' words, there's been a lot of talk about lyrics. But y'all, the evidence are going to show in this case, we didn't chase any lyrics to solve any murders. Law enforcement in Fulton County chased the murders and found the lyrics. They're investigating, they're finding out who committed it. And after doing all of that, they happen upon lyrics. Lyrics that have an uncanny similarity to very true and very real and quite specific events, as the evidence will show. Jeffrey Williams' words that he promotes through songs with beats behind them, they aren't random. He tells you, as the evidence will show, take this shit to motherfucking trial. I rap my life for real. For slimes, you know I kill.
These lyrics are really bad. It's been like not well written and they don't rhyme that well. And I'm hoping that it was a really good beat behind wherever he put them because they're kind of dumb. I up my stamina to take me to trial. What's that then?
Watch me whack that bitch. Pop it like assist. Glock with the assist. Incident. The gun at the home of Jeffrey Williams on May of 2022 that had been modified with that switch. It was a Glock. Again, we didn't chase the murders. We didn't chase the lyrics, rather to solve the murders. We chased the murders as the evidence will show, and in the process, we just found the lyrics. Jeffrey Williams
She should have started that way. She could.
further reflects his agreement.
If I was her, I would have started with the quote from the defendant. I would have started there, like, let me capture your attention, and then we'll go from there. I just don't like her presentation.
Participate in this organization through this criminal activity. He tells you we committed them crimes. Hop out and shoot. Roll one up for a gang. He's not using gang colloquially. The evidence will show he's telling you they are a gang. You want to be slime? Children
Jeez, another objection. That's rap, dude. I don't, that's crazy. That doesn't show a crime. It's just how hip hop is. They're not trying to take away, but it does seem a bit like they're trying to punish for it. It's like, we're not doing a murder charge here, lady. Yeah, if I'm a juror, I'm napping by now. I'm falling asleep just watching this with y'all. try to make my openings very brief. Here's what we're going to talk about. Here's what you're going to learn. Out. She's not doing that. And I know it's a complicated case, but I feel like she's making it more complicated than it needs to be. I feel like she's doing too much. I can't fast forward her because she's live. If I was a juror, I'd be like, can we fast forward this lady? I'm tired of hearing this. We've already heard about it.
As the evidence will show, in ensuing months, there were series of shootings and retaliatory shootings. Most notably, the mother of rapper Rayshawn gets shot. Her house is shot up twice. She gets shot one time. And the evidence will show that there is not always cooperation, because there is a code that people adhere to when this type of violence is surrounding them. No snitching. So the evidence will show that even as people were getting shot, even as people were bleeding, even as people were being taken to the hospital to have their wounds attended to, they weren't always forthcoming. They weren't always willing to talk to and to trust law enforcement, not even if it concerned their own purposes.
Gee, I wonder how that started.
That members of YSL ultimately, as a result of those shootings and retaliatory shootings, ballistics or firearms matches started coming back to various people. And then one YSL member, when they were exaggerating,
I thought the guns were stolen.
the shell casings from that gun go to match some of these shootings. When Darius Zachary is called, he starts telling. The evidence will show that when Darius Zachary was a straw purchaser for YSL. A straw purchaser is nothing more than somebody who goes and gets guns for somebody who's not supposed to have them. And that's what Darius Zachary is.
Straw man, we call that. I guess they call it differently in Georgia.
Hands of Ken Copeland led to further revelations to the police and law enforcement. The evidence will show members of YSL were so eager, so gangster about acting on behalf of and in the protection of the defendant Jeffrey Williams and YSL, that when Wayne Carter, otherwise known as Lil Wayne, came to town to perform at the compound while the defendant Jeffrey Williams was performing in Lil Wayne's hometown, according to word from the people that talk getting moved at the time, members of YSL show up at the compound, locking local guns. Evidence will show that security knew to be on the lookout for members of YSL.
Now we're talking about a Lil Wayne concert? Like, what?
Public risks and back and forth.
I'm bored. If I had no promise to sit through this with y'all, I would like hang up by now. I'm like, this woman's exhausting.
Being made publicly on social media about, towards, and threatening Wayne Carter. So when Tyrone Dennis, who is working an extra job,
I gotta stop. Hold on. Wayne Carter is Lil Wayne. One of the ways that rappers promote their video or their music is to have beef. And they'll do songs that are like beef songs against each other. Like Eminem did one against Machine Gun Kelly or whatever. I don't know. Anyhow, they do that back and forth. So the fact that rappers threaten another rapper is like, that's not even, like, why are we even here? What about that is court worthy? That's so dumb. Like, did you live through the 90s? Do you remember the East Coast West Coast battle? Like, that is how they promote their music. They beef with each other. That's how even the women do it. Even the women of rap do it. It's like a hip hop thing. Blah 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 blah.
After being arrested, or actually when he was approached back in 2014 about an armed robbery he allegedly committed, YSL member and associate Trontavious Stevens was seen bearing tattoos on his hands, ROC, Cleveland Avenue, and then on his side he had YSL. And Detective Mark Belknap inquired of him, what's that? No, Belknap knew, because he had worked in the streets of Atlanta for a long time. He was familiar with the right. But as gang investigators, they're taught to interact with and talk to people when they see indicia of criminal street gang activity. You'll hear that Trontavious Stevens told Belknap, well, Rock Crew is the name we used to call ourselves. Then we started going by YSL, which stands for Young Slime, or it did stand for Young Slime. But then, when my friend Jeffrey Williams started becoming successful, we changed that name to Young Successful Life.
I thought it was Young Stoner Life, but
Member of the gang himself.
I think just in the fact that everyone thinks it's a different name
As the evidence will show,
is an issue.
members of YSL don't want to call themselves and acknowledge that they are in fact the gang. It's when it would be to their detriment. The evidence will show that any other day of the week, they are loudly and proudly promoting their criminal activities. Don Thomas, he was driving this Chevrolet Tahoe the night he was gunned down.
Oh, this is one where the rap lyrics are about this.
This location here is the barber shop, right up from the Texaco, at the corner of McDaniel and Northside Drive in Atlanta, Fulton County. We asked you, during one year, you heard us say, how many of you are familiar with this area? This is that area. The evidence will show that that is the way that Donald Thomas moved last time his loved one saw him. That his life was swallowed up in that crater created by YSL.
Back to the dang crater.
And the words that they found while looking into this murder, spoken by members of YSL. We don't speak about shit on wax, but indeed they do, as the evidence will show. They just kind of thinly veil it. We are known to kill the biggest cats of
Oops.
The evidence will show that the lyrics released by YSL members, the lyrics they chose to speak, they bore a very eerie significance
Oops.
to real life.
Oops, that might be a little self-snitching right there. Oops.
And you'll
Oopsies.
see that Diamond Thomas's Tahoe had multiple defects all along the back of it when they sprayed Diamond Thomas and his car on January the 10th of 2000. This that slime shit, killing 12 shit.
Doesn't even rhyme.
Show that 12 is the word that is commonly used to denote law enforcement. And speaking of the young people whose innocence and whose lives were swallowed up by that crater created by YSL, Christian Avenger, he's not before you today, but he is a co-conspirator of these defendants.
See how it's YSL Briss? That's because they're Bloods, and they're not allowed to use C because that's Crips.
The evidence will show that at the age of 16, he, along with an accomplice, robbed a young woman by the name of Terania Hill and starting her child. And that at his sentencing hearing, Terania Hill, seeing a young black boy who could have been her brother, cousin, she actually advocated for Christian Avenger's lenient sentencing. So Christian Avenger, he wasn't sentenced on what he was originally charged with. With the acquiescence of the victim, Christian Avenger received a lesser sentence. He went to prison for a short time, and within less than a year, he committed an armed robbery. And when law enforcement officers are out there looking for Christian Avenger, who incidentally constantly posted on social media with guns and his gang signs and the green emojis with the gun pointing to the camera or to some other.
By the way, a man posing with guns or money in one of his profile pictures on anything is in fact a red flag. I would say it's a red flag if a woman is posing with guns or money too. Just FYI, that is a red flag.
Emojis talking about how he reps hard for YSL. When law enforcement officers specifically
Okay, y'all. This lady has bored me to tears, and luckily I have a consultation coming in to rescue me from having to listen to her any further. Will she finish today? I don't know, because she's just going on and on. My God. I feel like I've been here for eternity. She hasn't even made a point yet. Let me see my consultations. I'll decide whether or not to come back with you. Probably my guess is the defense openings start tomorrow because of all the delay and stuff, but we'll see. If the defense starts today, I'll come back, but this is just, I'm sorry, I'm bored to tears. Thank you for joining me. And make sure you hit